Okay, today we covering a different and difficult topic. So I request that if you are under 18, don't watch this video without supervision of an adult. If you having suicidal thoughts, please call chat line, which is 116 in South Africa. Just dial 116, or you can call the Depression and Anxiety Group of South Africa. Their number is 0800 567 567. 0800 567 567. Do not watch this video if you are having suicidal thoughts or you having anxiety and depression without someone to talk to. I'm not discussing suicide per se. I'm discussing if suicide is a mortal sin. A mortal sin is a sin where if you commit the sin, you immediately go to hell when you die. I disagree that we can know if somebody goes to hell when they die. We have to trust God unless we have overarching knowledge about the situation. So suicide is a process where somebody takes their own life. So suicide will take place in a space of minutes usually, or seconds, depending on the method used. So suicide is a grave and serious issue, and we should pray against it. We should pray against suicide, and we should learn to encourage people who are down and check out on our loved ones. So is suicide a mortal sin? God says a day to him is like 1,000 days, and 1,000 days to him is like a day. We measure time through the sequence of events, past, present, and future. So we can define time as a sequence of events from the past through the present, all the way into the future. So that's time for us. But for God, God dwells in eternity. He doesn't dwell in time. So he doesn't view us as today. C.S. Lewis, the Christian philosopher, says, God does not remember you doing stuff yesterday. God sees you right now doing what you did yesterday. And God cannot predict your future. God sees you already in the future. So imagine you are at the top of Carlton Center and you see a march proceeding next to the road on Smith Street. So you see the beginning of the march, you see the middle of the march, you see the end of the march, and you see the sides with one glance. But somebody in the march at the back, if he needs to contact somebody at the front, he has to walk through the crowd to go to the front. But you standing at the top of Carlton Center, with one glance, you can see the guy at the back and you can see the guy at the front with one glance. So it is with God. God sees everything happening in this world with one glance. So when 1 million people are praying to God, God hears everyone talking to him same time. This you can find in a book by C.S. Lewis called Mere Christianity. The chapter is Time and Time Beyond. You can even go to YouTube. You'll have somebody reading the chapter for you. So what happens is God sees one moment from the vantage point of eternity. He can see it throughout time. So if a filmmaker plans a scene, that one scene may take 3 seconds in the movie, but it took about 10 months to execute that 3 seconds worth of footage that you see. So with God, God sees us from a very different vantage point because he's the storyteller. He's telling the story of our lives, and we are the actors acting a script from him. So now there's something called time dilation. Time dilation simply means that you take 2 clocks and observe them and see how different they get. You set them at the right time. So they've taken 1 clock into space, 1 clock into the North and the South Pole. And when they compare the clocks after the observation period, they found that the clocks record at different times. Because in different times in the planet and in space, time behaves differently. So if time behaves differently for us on Earth, how does time behave differently for God in heaven? So we mustn't view suicide solely from a point of view of sin and solely from a point of view of time. Because somebody who kills himself over 3 decades by drug abuse, reckless sexual behavior, by participating in dangerous sports, this person over time is going to be declared dead, and it's going to say natural causes. But with suicide, I'm not sure what goes on the death certificate, but suicide is seen as a sudden event, whereas natural death occurs over time. Somebody who eats junk food all their life, they have coronary heart disease that actually gives them stroke and hypertension. So what's the difference between somebody who kills himself over 3 decades and somebody who kills himself over 10 minutes in front of God, who sees the whole of our life in 1 second? So when we judge and say, because you committed suicide, immediately you go to hell, now we are imposing our time limits onto God and saying, God, use our standard to judge this person. And that's not how we should view the death of a suicide. We need to view it from the point of view of God. Only God can decide the issue of death and judgment for that person. So can we rule that somebody who died by suicide has committed a mortal sin? The answer is no, we cannot. And we need to leave the business of judging people to God. And we must not condemn anyone. And we have, all of us, we know somebody who may have taken their lives, and we are mourning still their death. And I'm hoping that this video can maybe bring some comfort to say, maybe we've been thinking about suicide incorrectly. Maybe there's some factors we didn't think about that maybe can now bring us a little bit of comfort. I apologize if this video brought any hurt, pain, or bad memories. The intention of the video is to bring comfort by saying, looking at time, looking at God, looking at how He operates and what suicide and natural death and how they relate, maybe we can find some sort of comfort.